seen some stuff on some other Zoom, and what did I say about dress restriction, etc. You know, I've seen some people write some revealing stuff, and it's like, I wonder sometimes. Okay, skylineradio.org.uk in the afternoon right now. Big shout out to everybody in tune, and of course it is Sunday, the 15th of November, and 2020. And today we're going to talk to Sophia about the situation regarding stress and your well-being right now. She's in the studio on Zoom, waiting to come in right now. And of course, sending out birthday requests to the people. I think I've done that already, haven't I? I have going to say happy birthday to them in a different way. Here it comes for you right now. All the people having their birthday this week. Okay. Happy birthday to you. What happened to the last part of that? Oh, I don't know what happened to that. What happened to that? I don't know. Anyway, happy birthday to you all anyway. Gotta say shout out to everybody in tune. Stand by. Showtime with the Godfather here right now. skylineradio.org.uk. Let's say hi, good night to Sophia. Good afternoon.
Hi.
I know you've been up early this morning to be part of the show this morning, but we've started a bit. You started a bit early this morning, so I hope you had time to do the other chores in that 2 hours before that.
Well, I've been spending my time listening to your show.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that first part of the show.
Yeah, very emotional, very deep and very emotional.
Yes, well, we are living in an emotional time, and due to all the news and information we've been receiving over the last couple of months, in terms of stress, we are under some serious stress ourselves, as much as we're going to talk about the things you're going to talk about today. How do you see things on a whole in terms of the whole scope of stress? People are suffering from jobs, medication, hospital treatments, and all sorts of stuff. How do you see stuff at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, right now, people's stress levels are very high. I mean, you've got to see stress as a positive thing, but also a negative thing. So sometimes when we think about stress, we think only of the negative, but it can work to our advantage at times. Sometimes we even go and sort out stress. For example, if you're going to go to a fairground or you're going to go into a relationship, that can be a job interview, you can feel that stress, and that can actually promote you to think clearer and to be more active and to have more energy. So that can be really good. But if you've got prolonged chronic stress, then that's where difficulties can lie. And I think what we're going through right now.
What is that word you just mentioned?
Yeah, so it's prolonged chronic stress. So what I mean by that is that stress is important in the short term when your fight or flight responses are in tune, where you know that you need to get away from danger. But if you have those sensations that you need to get away from danger, and it's prolonged, it goes on for a long period of time, then that can be draining on the body. It can be draining on your energy. It can be draining on your emotions. So that's where we're at right now. So in the beginning, we thought, okay, we've got the COVID or we've got situations happening. It's only going to be for a short time, but this has been months. So there's months of stress and anxiety going on, and people are feeling it in their well-being. So you're finding depression, anxiety. You find people are trying to find it hard to sleep, to concentrate, to have motivation, to have energy. We're also being encountered with lots of different bereavements. So you've got the aspect of loss. And these are kind of things which causes natural life stresses. So change can be stressful, loss can be stressful, illnesses stressful, work stressful. So all these are hitting all those pointers that can cause stress in our lives that we need to be thinking about and be careful about.
As much as people are going through their own different, what's one of the most common stress levels have you heard about from various people?
Yeah, but the key factors with regards to stress tends to be relationships. And we've seen that, haven't we, where we've seen an increase in domestic violence. So we know that this time has been very dramatic on people's relationship, illness, We've seen that when people being worried that they're ill, knowing people that's been ill or people that have passed. Do you know what I mean? So that's been very worrying about your own well-being and the well-being of your family and your children. So that's a factor. Work, as you mentioned, whether you're going to be in work, having to work during this time, being furlonged off. Do you know what I mean? So there's been a lot high levels of stress if you've been in your own business, whether your business is going to continue. So that's been a very high stress area as well. Always, you know, with some kind of bereavement, then that's always going to cause a level of stress. And people, even if it hasn't been in your immediate family, you might know of somebody that's bereaved, and you're always being reminded on the television of a level of bereavement. So every time you put on the news, there's these numbers of how many people have lost their lives. So you're forever being reminded of that loss and that grieving. And also, of course, with any kind of transition and change, that's always dramatic. So those are the 5 areas really which is very high at the moment. And although you can have all the things very much connected, they're the kind of 5 core areas where you can see people are feeling the stress loads.
As you mentioned, the 5 areas there, you know, some people would say, well, based on the type of show we're having today and discussing stress, you know, people might say, well, what can we do to help them? And to the fact you just mentioned the 5 pointers there, will give an idea of indication of what other areas other people are suffering from stress in terms of the one issue that they may have, you know. So, you know, in terms of what you just said a while ago, how do you give them the encouragement to deal with it, you know, on a level, especially those on a one-to-one? What message do you have for those on a one-to-one?
Yeah,
Living on their own.
I think that it's very important to have coping strategies. And so that's the key element of what you can do. So there's certain things that you can include in your life that can help you to manage stress and to ease some of the stress. So for example, physical activity is really important to get your body moving. So you know that when you're under stress, your body's producing adrenaline, it's producing cortisol, it's producing those stress hormones. And so to help to discharge some of those stress hormones, then you can actually have some kind of movement. That could be going for a walk, that could be gentle exercise in your home, that could be dancing or something that actually moves your body, because that actually helps you to detox and to get rid of those and discharge those stress energies. So that's important. Looking at your posture can be important as well. Our physiology, the way that we carry our bodies is important. We know what it looks like when somebody is very depressed, with their head's low, their body's low, and they're feeling very low in their body. We know the posture of depression. So to change that, lifting yourself up, carrying yourself upright can have a dramatic change in your physiology, how you speak, how you talk to people. If it's very low and very, very sad, or whether it talks with energy, that can be a difference for your mind. Being careful, mindfulness is really, really important as well. So we can turn around and imagine the worst, but sometimes we've got to live in the moment right now and ask ourselves the question, is it true? Is what's going on right now? What can I do right now? So we can turn around and think about the future in such a negative way, and that can have an effect to our well-being right here. And sometimes we've just got to embrace right here and embrace this moment. The time you're spending with your family, you spoke about your grandchildren, enjoying that and focusing on those pleasurable times. Even if you're in the shower, think about the water, what it feels on your skin, having that quality time, relaxing in the bath, spending time with people that you love, enjoying those moments and being mindful to focus on those moments as well. You talked earlier, I know, about prayer. That's another way where you can have that peaceful time and that you can actually get in tune with yourself and become more spiritually aligned. Having some kind of action as well. So we can worry about, will there be enough food, or are they going to empty out the shops? We can worry about that, and that can cause us a lot of stress. So it might be useful to say, do you know what, I'm going to check and see what I have got in my cupboard and see what I need and make some plans and understand that. So by having that kind of action, that you actually do something that can actually help to relieve the stress. Having a clean environment, that can be important about having your mindset. So if your house is cluttered and constipated with things, with clothes, or your laundry's all over the place and the place is messy, you can clear that away. And that can actually be freeing and distressing in its own right when you're doing that. as I said as well, holding on to truth is important, but also be careful about what you're subjecting your brain to. So what you're listening to on the radio, what you're watching on the television, who you're talking to. If you're always surrounding yourself with that negativity, then you'll absorb that kind of negativity. So be careful about your friends and about the TV. It's okay being informed, and that can be good because then you can hold on to truth. But if that information is causing you to be depressed and low in mood, you've got to be very careful, especially if you're predicting a negative future. You played the video clip of the floods in Jamaica. And even while I was listening to that, I've seen the clip, but even as I was listening to it, I was reliving the pictures in the clip, wondering what I would do, how it would feel with myself. Do you know what I mean? It means our imagination is so strong. And it's really hard for our imagination to understand the difference between what's real and what's actually fiction or somebody else's experience. Do you know what I mean? So even though you're not going through the trauma, you can have that empathy and have that feeling, and it can be as true as if you were going through that feeling. So when she was calling out for God, I felt it for her. I felt her pain. And when we see people who have got those bereavements, we're feeling it. When we're hearing those numbers on television, we're feeling. So we need to be conscious to how much we're exposing ourselves to, because that also can have that kind of same effect and stress, increase our stress levels, even though we're not physically going through it ourselves. So, you know, it's about looking at that. And of course, our diet. I know at the break you said, oh, what shall I have? And you decided to have coffee. Now we've got to be careful about some acid forming foods. So things like alcohol, tea, your coffee, your meat, fish, and dairy, those are acid forming foods, and they can actually cause physical stress on your body. You look at your skincare products, your cleaning products, all those kind of chemicals can also cause stress on the body. So if your body is dealing with emotional stress, we can help the body to cope with that emotional stress by relieving some of the physical stress. Yeah, so try and alkaline our body, and so that can help us to cope. Even fasting, something that people we don't do as much, but it's something that's really important. Our body uses a lot of energy processing food, and if we can use some of that energy, save the energy by not eating, by fasting, it can use that energy in the healing, repairing, and rejuvenation. So you'll also find that when you're fasting, you're more alert, you're spiritually energized, you have more energy. And so that can be really, really useful when you're going through a difficult time, so that you can focus, find ways of coping that way. So that's the kind of a range, physical energy, mindfulness, posture, taking action, clean environment, holding on to truth, and your diet and environments. That's some tips.
All right. Okay. There's a lot there. As it's all meant for, that question was all meant for a person living on their own and don't really have many people coming around. And you didn't mention the fact that a telephone conversation can be a good conversation in terms of loneliness and to release tension and frustration. As you mentioned, how you talk to people as well is very important. And it's also depending on how you're receiving that information from the other person you're talking to. If they're talking about the topic that everyone seems to be talking about, it creeps into the conversation sometimes in terms of COVID-19 and certain things that go on, yes, on this, on everything else. What can you talk about differently from without having any stress to the person to make the conversation sound interesting? Because sometimes I talk to some people and it's like, okay, here we go again. It's the same old, same old. I've heard it from the last caller and the last caller. Just talk about something. What do you think would be an energetic to the person talking to somebody else, especially the elders?
Yeah, definitely. I think the company you keep is really important. And yes, having those telephone conversations, now we've got Zoom, is a massive big advantage. You can talk to the whole world. You've got your social media, you can talk to the world via social media as well. So that's a different kind of advantages that are going through, and that's really, really useful. And if you know somebody that's isolating themselves or living alone, it's such an opportunity for you to make that contact and to call. You've got the time now to call the friends that you've been meaning to call and never got around to it. So this is an opportunity. But yes, there can be some people who can be what I call spiritual vampires, where you can be around that person, they can drain your energy,
Yes,
so it's about being conscious about who you're talking to and how long, and maybe it's okay to talk about COVID because it's so real right now, and you do that for a short period of time, and then talk about other things. It's a good opportunity now to read the book you've always been meaning to do the repairs around your home that you've been meaning to do. So talk about those things, to cook the recipes that you've always meaning to try and never got around to doing it. Now you've got the time.
That's right.
So you can do that jigsaw puzzle you wanted to do, learn how to do the Rubik Cube, learn a new language. There's so many different things that you didn't have time for before, and now maybe you've got the time, so you can try and distract yourself and to develop yourself. So a lot more people now thinking ahead are learning things about being eco-friendly, how to do gardening, how to do your own food, how to preserve your food. So all these different things that we can learn that can give us confidence, encourage us for the future, but also it can distract us from what's going around. But as I said, choose your friends wisely. If somebody is draining your energy, don't feel that you need to have a lot of time around that person, even if it's a family member, or you can set limits. We can talk about this for a while, but then let's talk about something else.
Something else, yes, yeah.
In my mood,
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all about mobilizing yourself to do things for yourself rather than wait for that last minute. Because right now, in terms of staying at home, which we're all doing right now, staying at home, as you just said, the energy to do things in the house that you haven't done for a long while.
Yeah.
I'm sure yourself and myself have done some things that we needed to be doing because of work. We just never had the time. And when we do find time, we're so tired or other things creep in. But now people are spending time being paid on furlough. They're very lucky to be still getting paid, at least getting some payment. But what about the ones who were at a stage where they were told that they would be made redundant because of the end of October due to circumstances? The company's not making any money, and they can't continue to pay them a wage, so therefore we had to make it redundant. And then what happened? The day after, the government said, oh, you can still get furlough up until the end of March 2021. How do you think those people must have felt to be paid and to be told that they were made redundant when the furlough had continued the next day?
Yeah. Change, transition can be very stressful. It can be. And remember, in life, sometimes we cannot control the events that's happening. So a loss of a job or a bereavement, we might not be able to control that event. But what we do have control over is our reaction to that event. And depending on how we react can determine the outcome. So for example, you can view the fact that you're no longer in that employment as an opportunity to start your own business, to look for an alternative job, to enjoy some peaceful time. Do you know what I mean? It's just really how you view it, basically, how you decide to view it. If you decide to think this is the end of the world, then that's going to make you low in your spirits. But you could see it as an opportunity to do something new, be creative, start your own business. It can actually open lots of different doors, you know. So that's something, you know, if you're self-employed, I'm self-employed as well. If you're self-employed, then nobody can sack you, you know. So
right. So as I said, so the bottom line is that as long as there's life, there is a lot of hope amongst many people out there. That's the main thing. Rather than put yourself down in the dumps because someone's told you something that has made you feel, as you said, there are demons out there that will make you feel that way. Just like how to send you out WhatsApp messages to say, look at this, and yet those people that send the messages to you can't explain to you where they got it from or what it's about or what research they've done to verify sending it to you.
Yes, there's a lot of information, a lot of concern, and a lot of worry, and that's the real situation. That's it. But you can turn your phone off. You can sit down and read a book, read a magazine. You can do some artwork. You can do other things. You don't have to surround yourself. If you're in a lot of WhatsApp groups and it's pure negativity and it's causing distress, you can come out of that group. You do have choices, and sometimes we need to be proactive. What I've got as well on my YouTube is I've got a video specifically on stress and looking at what's called the Wellness Recovery Action Plan. And in there's a link to a free book where you can actually look through some steps of how you can help and take control of your stress levels and taking care of your emotions. And part of that, it looks at taking a pen picture of what you are like when you're well. So what were you like, say, this time last year when before the trauma was going around? Were you talkative? Were you happy? Were you outgoing? All those kind of characteristics. So if I didn't know you, but I picked up this paper, I can read that off. And then you can look at what kind of are your signs if you're becoming unwell. So that could be excessively eating or not eating, talking excessively or not talking. It's all unique to you. But having that pen picture and then having having a look at what you could do that can help to lift your mood. So that could be, I said, artwork, taking a long relaxing bath, listening to some beautiful music and prayer, meditation, all the things that you can do that can help to keep you in a good state of mood. Things that you can do occasionally that can lift your mood, and that could be having a massage or going to a restaurant. We know we're limited at the moment, so we can't do some of those things, but things that you can plan for in the future that would lift your mood to say, oh, I'll look forward to doing that. And then you need to have at least 5 people, and that could be on Zoom, on the phone, but at least 5 people that can be a support network for you, that can call, that you can call on them. And that might mean, and you give them jobs to do, and that's part of the RAP plan where you can put that in, a part of that wellness plan where you can put it in, and you tell them the job that they need to do. And it might just be to listen to you when you're feeling unwell, or to make sure that you're eating, or to just phone and make sure that you're okay. These are these jobs, whatever it is, or call the GP, or call a family member if you don't hear from me for a while. These are all the little things, that jobs that you give them to do, they can be part of your well-being program, your well-being plan. And then once you've got those in place, you can give that to those people so they can know, this is me well, this is me unwell, these are things I like to do all the time, these are things I should do occasionally, and this is what I need from you if things become unwell. And that can actually kind of help that you're taking action, and you're also putting things in place, and you are taking control of your well-being. And I think right now a big factor is that people feel out of control. Things are happening around them that they got no control over, and that can be worrying and increase your levels of stress. That's right. But doing things that you do have control over can help alleviate that.
Okay. So you mentioned about the well-being, and some of the things you just highlighted a while ago. What's one of the most things that you think that you would have used as an experience for those who don't understand the word of well-being? Because some people look at things in different ways. How do you explain that?
Yeah, so with regards to well-being, I like to look at it in a very holistic approach. So looking at your physical health, so your diet, your environment, what you're putting in your skin and what you're putting in your hair, your levels of toxins, all those physical things, physical movements, all those things like that. Your intellectual well-being, what you're listening to, what you're watching, what books are you reading, so making sure that's being stimulated. Your emotional health, what people you're talking to and what you are saying. Words are very important, so we've got to be careful about what words we're using, and careful about what friends we're around and what emotional support we've got. As I said, that can sometimes be negative, so we've got to make sure it's positive. Our social networks, so what are we doing to be social? I'm talking to you now, that's really good, so I know it's something positive. Who else am I looking around, and making sure I haven't got those social vampires around me. Our spiritual needs, so if you are into mindfulness, or if you're into prayer, it's about meeting those spiritual needs the best of the way that we can, getting in tune to make sure that you feel complete that way. So you're looking at physical, intellectual, emotional, social, and our spiritual needs. These are the area of well-being that we need to consider, and to try to make sure that we're doing something, even if it's very small, at least we're doing something to meet those needs, is an improvement.
How do you see the situation regarding the Zoom that we're on here right now? And if anybody's having any interference problems or having some cutout, we're on Zoom right now. So sometimes the transmission can be a little bit, sometimes can cut, but it's still there. We'll try to keep it up to standard as much as we can here right now. But, in terms of Zoom, and you've been on Zoom many, many times. I've seen your videos on YouTube, and, I've sat and watched some of them. How important is it for many of us, of our people, to use that facilities where we're watching people on television, where you got loads of people on stream doing it, and even the people in the news are using Zoom? How important is it for us as part of well-being in terms of being connected visually, because we can't be out there physically, but visually, as I can see you, you can see me. How important is it for us to be able to have this kind of facility?
I think it's amazing. Me personally, I like that very much. My mother's in Jamaica at the present moment in time, and sometime, and she's been there for a few number of years now. And
Okay.
I can miss her emotionally. I want my mother near me, and the advantage with Zoom or WhatsApp. There's lots of, or Skype used to be Skype before, wasn't it? That people used to use, and there's other ways of communicating with video links, is because it feels like that person is there with you. And so I remember with my mum and other people that I've spoken to regarding video calls, is that we can be cooking and we could be doing other things. When I chat with my sister, we can do our hair at the same time, and it's like we're physically
Okay.
there. You know, we're carrying on,
Right. Yes.
and we're having that conversation. So that can be comforting, and you can even, your brain kind of forgets that you're not in the same space. And then when you switch it off, you feel, oh, it's a bit quiet, it's a bit lonely because you've been talking for so long with that person. Do you know what I mean? So it can help to fill that gap, and it can help to reduce that feeling of loneliness and isolation by having those kind of contacts. And the thing is, if you don't have that network, as I said before, the aspects of, say, learning a language, there are video links where you can help to teach other people English, or you can learn another language, and you're speaking to strangers around the world, and you're having that kind of connection. And that can be really good, because as human beings, we like to have that social connection. So that's important. So so we can use the computers, we can use social media to fulfill that need.
So it's very important for people to have that connection with families,
Yeah.
and I just said friends, and time. Time is important too, because if you don't want to talk to somebody too long, time yourself when talking to people, so at least you can move on to somebody else. When you talk to somebody for too long, you don't have the energy for another phone call, because it's going to be like another long time
It's
talking to
true.
that person.
Well,
So
it depends on who you're
if
talking to.
that's true as well. Still, that is true. If it's something that's going to, stimulate the mind to do things better and encourage you to move forward, fine. But if it's negative, I would say to people, if it's negative and ain't going nowhere, then to say to them, well, I've got a few things I've got to do right now, and etc. Most people say to me, oh, I've got a Zoom meeting to go to. And I said, okay, go ahead, because obviously it's all about timing, you know what I mean? So, and it's good for me as well also to be told that they got the Zoom meeting, because sometimes, you know, conversation can go on a bit longer than usual. And
Yes.
by the time you turn around, that's the time, and you got other things to do.
Yeah.
And the person you're supposed to talk to have to wait till tomorrow, and tomorrow never come. And me personally, as you mentioned about yourself, I find it very fascinating. And even though I was told about Zoom long time ago, I just wasn't sort of clicking in that area. But now it's like wonders. I can work wonders. And as much as I'm talking to you right now, it's connected to my show here right now with Skyline Radio,
Yeah.
which you know about. And a lot of people can hear it, even though they can't see us. At least they can hear what we're talking about. And the Zoom itself is a thing that I think people should not be afraid of.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, whatever information you think that the authority has about us, they've got it already anyway.
It's
Because
very
our
true.
mobile phone, as much as our mobile phone, as we sit here and talking and we're on lockdown, they're monitoring our movements in terms of what we're doing.
Yes.
So if we're using the Zoom, they know what we're doing, and
Yeah.
they know who we are. And talking about digital situation in terms of your passport, and they can check you out by your eyes. I just realized they can watch us on Zoom if they wanted to, and look into our eyes and see who we are anyway, because our eyes are going to be the new passport. Never mind the
Yes.
physical passport.
I think if we worry too much about what the government can do, what via the social media, or we've been listened to, all that kind of stuff, it can actually cause us increased stress. It's about you turning around and saying, what can I do that's best for me? And if right
Mhm.
now, what's best for my mood and my emotion is to talk to a family member, then that's what I'm going to do. Do you know what I mean?
That's
You're
right.
going to have those
Yeah.
kind of limits. And yes, definitely set those limits for yourselves, and make sure that what you're doing is uplifting you. So if, for example, right now we can't get to church, but church is on Zoom, and lots of churches are having Zoom church services, then tap into that, because that's going to lift up you up spiritually. Do you know what I mean? Because that's going to be beneficial for you. So don't worry about who's watching. you focus on what's best for you. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. Otherwise, you can have a cycle where you become so paranoid about things that can cause you increased stress, and it can affect your mental health and affect your physical well-being as well. Because when we're under a lot of stress, it affects our immunity. Do you know what I mean? Our immune system doesn't function as well. So we don't want to be going through lots of stress. If we're in stress for a long time, it can cause things like lupus, it can cause chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. All these things are caused by excessive and prolonged stress. So we don't want to be putting ourselves in that situation. So we've got to look at the bigger picture. You know?
Picture, yeah. The bigger picture to that is yourself, really. Your well-being, and also the surroundings that you keep as well.
Yeah.
Now you've been on the show before, actually. You've been on the Keep It Real show yourself. Magnesia was the topic as well.
Magnesium,
and you had a and you had there was a seminar at the Heritage Center last year. Yes, and I was there. We were listening to Tony Kelly and many other people that was also on the bill.
Yes, yeah.
And a good event still, even though the weather was not that great, but people turned up anyway.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and the products that you had on your store was quite interesting. I bought the whole package of the magnesia. Is it? Yeah. And I'm almost finished actually, but still, using it well, especially when it comes to soaking my feet and that. I like to use a spa at times, without plugging it in, just soaking
in there. Yeah. Well, magnesium is key to stress as well, because it's a natural anti-inflammatory. So it helps to bring that in the inflammation in your body. It also helps to relax and calm mood. So you find that right now, let's take it back. If you're under any kind of stress, and we've already spoke about physical, intellectual, emotional, spiritual, if you're under any kind of stress, your body tries to relax you, and it uses the mineral magnesium to do that. So your magnesium levels in your body is continually going down. So right now, majority of us are low in our magnesium levels. On average, 80 to 90% of us are depleted in magnesium. So right now, that number could be even greater. And so our body is using the magnesium in the body to help to regulate, to rejuvenate, and to calm. So we're low. And so it's important that we boost the levels up. And the best way of boosting magnesium is via your skin, via your skin. So that's why we do the bath salts. We can soak in for half an hour, get your levels up, relax, be mindful. We've got the body wash for a shower. We've got the oils, the lotions, and we've got the body butter as well, which is a very thick body butter, which is good for any rough areas, your feet, your knees, your elbows. And you can use that, like you said, it's that spa at home. So you're actually boosting your magnesium levels. So when you're under stress, it's got something to relieve, but also you're pampering yourself and making yourself feel good as well. And for ladies, making your skin soft. It helps to keep you looking rejuvenated and young. So it's good.
Okay. So we had that discussion about what, was it last year sometime?
We've got it on. Time.
It's a good while. But we had I think it was after we had some comedies at the time, because on the end of the show, it had some, end of our interview, we had some comedies on there. And that was also at the Heritage Centre in Wolverhampton. But we've had a good number of people replying and watching that video, because the numbers on my Mixcloud were pretty high.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to say thank you very much for that. Obviously people are taking notice of what we were talking about, and also the type of stuff that we do on this show from time to time. In terms of other things doing, you talk about some other products you do as well, because while you're here, you might as well talk about your other products that you do as well, and in terms of what you do on YouTube. What else do you do besides what you're practicing right now? Because you did a seminar to talk about, I don't know where it was, I watched it last night, something to do with skincare.
Yes, well, I was part of the Return to Your Roots on their management committee. We focus on natural hair care. And I think that's something that's so important. We were talking about our physical well-being and the toxins that we put on our body. So of course, our skin is one element, but also our hair is another element. And not only the products that we're putting in, but also the psychological aspects of our natural hair, especially for the Black community. So there's the increased acknowledgement now, and so that's important. I also do work with Derek D. Clements as well, and looking at the principles of natural hair or black hair, and they do a lot of work about educating people how to care for our hair, and it is about retaining moisture. So what we do with Morgan-Genus is that we have organic black soap, so that's less toxic, it's organic, it's less toxic, so that's good for your skin, and also stops you from stripping the oils and nutrients out your hair. We also have a natural organic hair products as well, hair oils, to help to seal in the moisture. So we think our hair won't grow, but in fact our hair does grow. It's about retaining our hair. And what happens is the ends of our hair becomes dry. And if your ends become dry, they break off. So it's about retaining that moisture. So we do the natural hair care. And I said, I do talks and seminars about how to detangle our hair and how to care for our hair appropriately. I do that. And also, we also on the site, we have shungite, which is a carbon-based mineral, which is used to help to absorb the electromagnetic fields. So if you have a lot of computers, smart meters, microwaves, things like that in your home, it's also good to have natural minerals surrounding you to help to absorb some of that, so it goes into that and not into you. So it is about having that kind of, having products that are not only looking at beauty and making you feel amazing, but also good for your physical health and well-being as well. So we care for that holistic aspect of health. So on my YouTube, in Morgan-Genus YouTube, I talk about health, magnesium, black mental health as well, because I also teach at Derby and Birmingham University, specifically looking at approved mental health practitioners. I train those on the aspect of black mental health. So I have a little bit of that on there as well. And health and well-being is the main thing for me. They're the main areas that I cover. So yes, come on, subscribe and watch some of the videos.
Okay, all right. Well, it's been an interesting conversation once again. I hope the listeners out there have taken notice of what has been discussed, and obviously different areas of concern in terms of your stress levels, something that families can talk about this afternoon during this Sunday evening, and share it with their families and friends. This will be on YouTube, will it be? This conversation here will be on YouTube?
Yeah, I can place this on YouTube so that people can re-listen. And do you normally put it also on the Mixcloud?
Yes. Right. So you can put it on YouTube, and I'll put it on the Mixcloud, which is mixcloud.com/monster77. Again, my reason for 7 that's me nick, not lucky numbers. All right. So numbers add up in my head all the time. So 7 is a number. So they can always go to any of the shows and listen, and they can also go back to the previous show that we did before and listen to your conversation regarding magnesium. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. Well, I hope, So I hope whatever you got planned today will be a good one, and have a good evening. And I'll speak to you soon. And I hope there's another project that you may want us to talk about on Zoom, because it's a good idea. We can see each other. We can always talk about things that, sometimes you have phone call conversations that you just can't see the person you talk to sometimes. So I believe that Zoom is the way forward. It's the future. And it also gives joy and happiness to see the person on the other side smiling and happy like yourself right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'll speak to you very soon.
Okay, take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, all right. Bye for now. SkylineRadio.org.uk.